Jada Boss.
Alright guys, it's BossTalk and we're back, and we have a special guest.
And I am thrilled to be here on 91.5 KUNV. This is Rita Cosby, Emmy Award-winning TV host and best-selling author, and luckily enough today to be a speaker here at the university. And I am with Jordan in Las Vegas, and I'm at the best radio station in the house, and I'm going to be with you guys for the next half hour.
Yeah, and I'm so excited, Rita. I'm just thrilled. And today I actually got to hear Rita and her story, and she wrote a book called Quiet Hero, The Secrets from My Father's Past, and why don't you tell them what it's about?
It has been the most amazing story of my life. And here I am, a journalist, and I've interviewed, I was on Fox News for 10 years. I still, in fact, when I go through the airport, I feel like it's my life. I have people go, I love you on Fox, and then I went to NBC, I love you on NBC. Yeah. And now I'm doing stuff with CBS. With the syndicated show, Inside Edition, and also doing radio and on a book tour, as you pointed out. And it has been the most personal and incredible story for me. And it's about my father. Here I am interviewing sort of the who's who of the world all this time, and it turns out there was this amazing story in my backyard, and my father never talked about it until recently. And when I made this discovery, after my mother passed away, in an old suitcase of my mother's belongings, I found an old rusty POW tag, and I found a red and white fighting armband with blood on it, and I found a card with code names on it. And that's what caused me to say, oh my goodness, these are my father's belongings, because one of the cards was of an ex-POW named Richard Kozabutsky. And I said, oh my gosh, this is my dad. And I called him and reached out to him because he had left the family when I was a teenager. And so the story is one of also reunion and of a daughter getting to know her father, and I think it's an inspiring story, and we're giving a portion of our proceeds to the troops. So I tell everybody to go out and buy Quiet Hero, Secrets from My Father's Past, and a portion of the proceeds will go to wounded soldiers and their families across America, because it's an amazing story of survival, of standing up for what you believe in. And my father, not only did he fight against the Nazis, he was a prisoner of war, escaped, and at the end of the day saved by American troops. So this is my way to give back and to say thank you to the greatest fighting force in the world.
I mean, it's a very influential story, and just your story alone is influential to me, because I'm trying to be a journalist, and everybody.
And she's a great journalist, everybody.
Thank you. And it's just a compelling story, and it could be for people who've gone through a great struggle, or for people that need a relationship with their dad, or both. Because I know recently I just lost my grandfather.
Oh,
and it was like my favorite person in the world, but my mom had to do a struggle of her own, losing that, and
loss is tough,
yeah,
and especially when you're close to somebody. And in my case, when my mother passed away, she was really my mother and my father, and we were devastated, my brother and I. And then when we found his belongings, I tell everybody it was sort of this turning point, because I could have said, oh, I'm just going to ignore him, and I'm not going to call this guy who left the family when I was a teenager, and there was certainly animosity and bad feelings about his departure suddenly. And, I really, it's funny, he watched me grow up on television. And he watched my hairstyle like everybody else on television too. But then I thought, you know what, when I looked at this prisoner of war tag, and to hold this rusty metal tag and see the number on it and realize that your father wore it when he was starving in a prisoner of war camp, I thought, as a child, how was I to know when he left us and was a little emotionally disconnected, and very emotionally disconnected, that it was because of what he went through. And as a child, you don't really think your parents went through and had a different life before you, and what was their past. And in my father's case, he had an incredible past. And I thought, I'm going to reach out, and I want to forgive him. And that's why I think the book has hit such a great chord, because I think I've gotten notes from people. Our website is quiethero.org. Everybody, quiethero.org. You can buy books there and information about the book too. And I've been getting all these emails from people, and it's been so cool, Jordan, because people will write in and say, oh my God, I got your book, and I gave it to my dad, and I hadn't talked to my dad in the longest time. And I wrote, let's talk. And we're meeting for lunch the next day, and I thought that was so cool. And to have that ability to hopefully reach out to other people and inspire them to put whatever the problem was in the past, whether it's a friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whoever it is, and to move forward and to at least have a decent relationship. That's important. And now my dad and I are having this amazing relationship.
Yeah, and it was really crazy, because you said that you've interviewed people, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, different people like that, but you said your favorite interview was your dad, and you said that this has been like one of the best experiences of your life, and the whole project, you had to go to Poland, and you met different people, and in the documentary, because she actually has a documentary, everybody. I got to see the trailer today.
Yes, and it worked. You guys got a good sneak peek.
Yeah, it was good. I was very excited about it. But in the trailer, the documentary, the senator of Poland said to you that your dad kept quiet because he didn't want to return to the pain. So how do you feel it's important to kind of confront pain, and because you had pains of your own that you couldn't really talk about?
Well, it's funny, because when I wrote the book, I thought, what a great story. And I didn't realize it was going to become this healing process, not just for my dad, but for me.
Right.
And I feel like now I have a father for the first time in my life. I didn't have a father up until really 2 years ago. And this book has brought us together, so it's been this incredible journey. And I was writing the book literally as I was experiencing things. And in my dad's case, he's a different man. And I think it's because he confronted the pain that you're talking about and actually was able to talk about it and actually able to, I think, move past it and look at what he did with pride. And that's what I tell everybody now, too. When you see somebody, it's funny, after I've written this book, now I walk down the street and I see like an old man or somebody with even like a veteran's hat, and I go, what did that man go through? Now I'm curious. What life, did this man lead, in his early years? What did he see? And I hope that this book encourages everybody to reach out, because there's some of these amazing stories. There's a lot of veterans out there who've never spoken. There are a lot of people who've gone through trauma, whether it's from war or something else.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that they get help and get people who love them and get them to get the care and attention they need. And also, I think in my father's case, had I not been persistent, I don't know if he ever would have talked.
Yeah.
But it was because I was sort of Rita the dogged reporter and kept asking him the questions. I think, I surrender. But my father, once he started talking, now he looks back with pride. And now when he talks about his youth, which was very painful before, now he has a smile on his face. And he's so proud. He was amazing about my dad. I picked the title Quiet Hero, not because of my dad. I mean, obviously, I think my dad is very much a hero. But my father said, I'll let you use that title, because he's embarrassed at the word hero, because he doesn't think he's a hero. He said, if it also exemplifies the U.S. troops who saved me, and if it also exemplifies my comrades who didn't make it back. And you think about just how meaningful that phrase is, and how many quiet heroes there are out here.
Right.
Not just my dad, but so many people who are still alive, and to get these stories now before it's too late.
And I actually had a question. I wanted to know what a hero is to you. When you title something, it has a purpose at that point. And I wanted to know what hero is to you, and why is your dad a hero to you? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because now you know him in a different light.
Absolutely. And, there were years where I was frustrated because I didn't have a dad. He wasn't really around when I was growing up. And now I've come to understand what an amazing man he turned out to be. And to go through what he went through in war and fighting against the Nazis. I mean, my dad was literally in Poland when the Nazis invaded.
Yeah.
And to be there as a 13-year-old and to have the fortitude, as my dad did at the age of 15. I mean, you think about a 15-year-old now, we're playing Nintendo or they're doing whatever, and my dad at the age of 15 was taking up arms against the Nazis and willing to die for his country. And you think about having that kind of moral compass at that age is really incredible. And that, to me, says a lot, not just about my dad, but obviously his upbringing, too, and his parents, to be able to teach him to have that kind of a moral dedication and a patriotism and selflessness, and I think that that's the real quality of heroism, is somebody who is willing to absolutely put themselves last on the list. And I think, this book is a great tribute to our men and women who are out there, because I've had the pleasure as a journalist, I was over at NBC covering the troops in Afghanistan. I've been on the Mexico border. I've been in the Mideast, and I've seen our troops, and they go through amazing circumstances in some of the most dire, difficult locations in the world, and are doing it time and time again. And I've interviewed so many troops who are, lost limbs in the hospital. They're almost on death's door, and they're there in, Landstuhl Air Force Base, which is in Germany. And these are the real seriously injured guys from overseas, and they get sent there. And every time I interview them, they want to get back in the field again with their men.
Which is just
and those are heroes,
right?
That's a hero.
And one of those best parts I got out of your whole presentation about your dad is he said when he was around a teenager, he said, "I would rather die with friends than live with strangers."
Isn't that a great line? I love that line.
I love that line too, because he was talking about his escape. Somebody allowed him to escape, and he definitely didn't didn't want to go there. And
isn't that amazing? At the age of 15, saying that.
I know, and that's just a maturity and a strength and a courage within that line. And I wanted to know if you would have made that same decision. I mean, we can kind of try to put ourselves in the same shoes. You know what I mean? I want to know because you talk about your line, and obviously you got the same gumption and the same because you're an investigative reporter.
Yeah, and I've been pretty fearless sometimes. I mean, sometimes more fearless than I should have been. But I do feel like I hopefully got a little bit of my spunk from my dad, and I hope I have 1,000th of the guts that my dad had.
The boss. The boss. The boss.